government. And so we're here with you tonight to attempt to answer as many of your questions as we possibly can as they relate to the events that transpired on last week. Let me say this to you. A council manager form of government, which means that the mayor and council supervise very few people. The city manager is one of them. The municipal court clerk is another. The municipal court judge is a third. The city clerk would be the fourth, and our city attorney would be the fifth, and our city prosecutor would be the sixth. Those are the people that we actually supervise. Those are the people that we hire, and those are the people that we fire. And certainly all of the other folks that I did not name for you are supervised by the city manager. So we know on last week we had some turnover on our staff. We're here to talk to you about that. I am going to introduce to you now our interim city manager, Mr. Chase Carey. I believe he has a statement that he'd like to share with you, and once we are past that point, we will open the floor up for questions. Mr. Chase Carey.
Good evening. Is the mic on? You can hear me? All right. First of all, I want to say all our city services are in full operation. We are here to talk about the leadership changes within the city of La Marque. I'm asking for your patience during this time of transition. This event occurred Friday, as Mayor said, and we are speaking to you about your concerns on the very next business day. I'm going to read out loud the employees who left the city. City Manager Charles Jackson, Assistant City Manager David Jordan, Assistant City Manager Charlene Warren, Fire Chief Todd Weidman, Police Chief Kurt Jackson, City Attorney Dara Purnell. Here are the people who have been placed in interim roles to date. Myself, Chase Carey, was appointed by the City Council to be the interim City Manager. Captain David Merriman is the interim Fire Chief. Lieutenant Chad Wagner is the interim Police Chief. Interim City Attorney is Robert E. Booth from Mills, Shirley, and Galveston. The appointment of an interim Public Works Director and interim assistant to the City Manager is pending at the moment. There are no plans to replace the two vacated Assistant City Managers at the moment. A little bit about myself. I grew up 5 miles down the road from City Hall in Dickinson, Texas. I graduated from Dickinson High School in 2003. I graduated from the University of Houston Bauer College of Business in 2008. I'm a certified public manager through the state of Texas. I've been with the city for over 8 years, and I've been the Public Works Director since 2019. You know, the city manager leaving when a new city council, that's normal. People retiring is normal. What is not normal is multiple directors walking out at the same time for unknown reasons. But we are researching the circumstances, and if any financial wrongdoings or discrepancies are found, they will be reported to the city council. To the city staff, I want to clarify some rumors and gossip. No one will be fired without cause. We want to be clear about that. To our citizens, we are asking for your support and your patience as we focus on the future. What happened in the past it's in the past. Our future is bright for the city of La Marque. Again, all city services are in full operation, and we are making the necessary improvements to cover all our citizens' needs. I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to serve at the highest level of our local government, and I look forward to proving myself to the good people of this great city, to this council, and to Mayor Bell. It is business as usual. Thank you.
Okay, so now we will attempt to answer your questions. We'll get Ms. Martin to help us with this part.
Y'all know I always have to be first in the meeting. Look, let me see if I got my paper. I don't mind being the icebreaker. So, I wrote this so I'll stay on track. I'll try to be quick. To our mayor, city council, city manager, and all city administrators, and of course the citizens of Lamarque. For the last 18 years, my husband and I have raised our family in the city. Many years have been great. The last few years, we now worry about gunshots, drug activity, unresolved code enforcement violations, and not if, but when the next storm will ruin our family home. Just some examples of some things we've experienced the last few years. Police dispatch tell me that gunshots are recorded were fireworks, never sent an officer. I shared this with city officials. Living in close proximity to a suspected drug house, it has been reported numerous times by several people with no resolution. I reported to our former police chief directly that a vehicle, I don't know why I'm shaking so much. A drug house was reported. Also, we have a vehicle in our neighborhood that was reported as well that was suspected in a robbery from last summer that was put onto the police Facebook page. I reported it, a neighbor reported it, nobody came to look at it. As far as I know of, that vehicle's a 90% match to a crime that was committed locally last year. Nothing happened. My husband, in the midst of Harvey, the peak of Harvey, that man was out there trying to clean out people's ditches. He was pushing cars with neighbors trying to protect their homes. He helped push their cars to higher ground. Unfortunately, despite his effort and the neighbors' efforts, there were several homes that were lost. I brought this to the city manager's attention last year. I submitted videos. I posted on Facebook. I've been angry on Facebook. Nothing has changed. We got a grant. It's awesome. We should have had a plan in place when that grant was submitted. Why aren't we hitting the ground running? Why hasn't it already started? Because no one is going to give you money without a plan. So, with all that said, my father has always taught me that you are not a person of your word if you can't back up what you say. What everybody in this room needs and all of our citizens need, we need transparency. We need our safety back. We need our homes to be protected from floods. We can't do this anymore. Because if you can't stand behind your word, we are nothing. And right now we have hit our nothing. We have no choice but to come up from here. But we need all of those things from our city. Every single person in the city. Our code enforcement can't go and pick and choose. The drainage ditches. Yes, we love our public works guys. There's not bashing them by any means. But when you come out and you dig half a ditch and you don't complete it all the way, guess what? It's not going to drain. Our yard is full of mosquitoes right now because our ditches aren't draining. So, bottom line is we need to stop focusing on our wants right now, and we need to focus on our needs. Those need to be the top priority. Our safety, our drainage, our administration. Those are the things that need to be handled right now. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Ms. Earl. Thank you, Ms. Earl, and certainly you are exactly right. We need to be held accountable. I believe that we are attempting to hold ourselves accountable. I don't know that there is anyone in this room that wouldn't agree with at least part of what you've said, and it's that foundation from which we move forward today. Today is a new day, right, in our city. We have new opportunities. We can choose to stay stagnant or look behind at the events that have transpired, or we can take this opportunity to move forward together. And that's what I want. Sounds like that's what you guys want, because we need to repair our drainage system. We need to empower our law enforcement community. We need to make sure that we are being fiscally responsible with your tax dollars. And so that's forward-looking, right? And that's where we want to go. We want to go into a future that's brighter than our present, right? And the way that we do that is by making sure that we're doing this together and that we're holding each other accountable. So thank you for that, Ms. Earl. Any other questions?
I'm known as a very blunt person, so I'm just going to cut right to the chase. When are you going to make improvements for our police department, for their equipment that they need, that the detectives have ink in their printers, that they have units that have AC, that aren't breaking down on the way to a call?
Thank you for that question.
I want to know when they're going to get a safe police station for our officers, when they're going to give the detectives the equipment they need, little things like ink, when they're going to get the units running properly that have AC and they don't break down on the way to calls.
Thank you for that. I've said many times throughout these past few months that it's my goal for our city to be the safest city in Texas. And certainly, at minimum, the safest city that we possibly can be. When are we going to do that? I think that we just started that, right? I think that we're here tonight to talk about the changes that were made. And I think that perhaps the changes that were made is an indicator that we've already started that process. If we can't keep our community safe, we don't have a community. Everything else can go by the wayside. Drainage doesn't matter, right? Street repair doesn't matter. Parks for our children, none of those things matter if we can't keep our community safe. For me, this entire ordeal was about one thing. It's about our ability to keep our community safe. Whatever happened last week was about one thing for me, our ability to keep our community safe. If I, as your mayor, felt as though we somehow have lost that ability, then it is my duty to act. And that's what you saw from me moving forward now, right? Because we're talking about changes. I believe that you will see from our council, and let me say that our council is here tonight. I see Councilwoman McAuliffe sitting over by the water. Wave at him, would you please, ma'am? I see Councilwoman Yancey sitting here in the second row. I saw Mayor Pro Tem is over reviewing documents by the water, and Councilmember Carlson is in the back. We are here for you. And let me say this to you. We just came from an entire day of retreat. And that's how hard we believe in working for our community. We came from there, we came here to make sure that we're here with you. So the answer to your question is, it's already started. I think that, again, last week was about some of the things that you said. A lot of them resonate with me. And so I hope that helped you.
Yes, thank you.
Next question.
Okay, so my main focus is code enforcement. Mayor Bell appointed me a while back to the Keep Lamarck Beautiful Commission, and that's something I'm passionate about, but yet I'm on that commission and I don't like the situation at hand because this city is littered with trash, tree limbs that's just down there forever, and nothing's getting done about it. So Mr. Chase, I know you was Public Works Director. Now that you're City Manager, I want to hear from you as to what are you going to do with the Code Enforcement Department? Because there's a lot of selective things going on, and I don't like it. There's other citizens in this town that don't like it. we want change on that code enforcement department, and I'm not calling any one particular person out. I spoke to one of them this evening, earlier today, about a particular situation, and that individual was very responsive. It took him a while to call me back, but he did. So the limbs, the trash, especially in District D. District A is just as bad. But I've been riding over there in District D every day. I put in requests. Some of the trash that I put in 2 months ago is still on the ground. There's no need for that. Why should I be on Keep Lamarck Beautiful Commission and we ain't doing nothing? Nobody's hearing the complaints. I put them in 2-3 weeks, trash still there. We need something done about it. I've spoken to Mayor Bell, Councilman Carlson, about coming up with a solution to maybe bring it in-house to get this up. And if our trash service ain't picking it up, which we know they ain't because there's piles everywhere. And if anybody call me a liar, meet me after this meeting and I'll show you some photos of it. Or better yet, ride over there. Ride this town like I do every day. And you'll see what's going on. People need to take their job serious around here, because if they don't, then it's time to get rid of them, let them go work somewhere else. Because if you get my tax dollars, I want to see some effort in it.
Can you hear me? You know, Mr. Loftus, I appreciate that, and we will be sitting down and reviewing our staff, and we'll be reviewing all operations. I know exactly what you're speaking of. I've sent Mr. Joe Mose and crews out picking up debris piles all over the city. I've done it myself, picking them up in the back of my truck myself, so I can completely understand where you're coming from. Mayor Bell and I, we will be sitting down and going over all operations.
And again, that's why there needs to be another alternative, because I know that public works, they can't chase every pile in this city. We got to
Yes, sir.
dumpers that's dumping this stuff. And even it ain't, sometimes it ain't even illegal dumpers, it's just citizens
Sure.
putting it out there and it's staying there for days at a time.
Yes, sir.
You know, well, it's a waste, man. So don't put all the brunt. I'm not trying to put all the brunt on
Yes, sir.
or code enforcement, because I know they can't pick it all up.
Sure.
So that's where the other options need to come in. Like, we need to look into that.
Yes, sir.
I'm tired of seeing
I agree.
calls every day.
Sure. I agree with you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, but you have to call in for a special pickup, and it has to be put together. Yeah, there's issues with that as well that we need to work out with waste management.
The pickup is, we have Friday pickup, and we put stuff out, and it's picked up.
Okay.
Next,
Please, if you want to speak, please go to the mic so we can all hear you. Thank you so much.
next question.
Can y'all hear me? Good evening. Mayor Bell, the works, pictures, everybody, the community. My name is Lois Johnson. I'm here again. The main concern on our street is, I love all of them all, Kansas, Bellevue, whatever, but we have a problem on on Bellevue. They put a layer of asphalt down, but it's sinking. I mean, we really need another layer, because somebody's gonna end up tearing their car up. Like today, the trash truck, they make the double trip again, you know what I'm saying, going back and forth because they can't pick up on both sides. They have to back up, pull out, back up in order to get somebody's trash on one side of the road. And I saw today where they missed somebody's trash because there was a vehicle blocking. And another thing I'm gonna complain about is like, we need lights on our street. Like one night I was at my friend's house and we was coming out the house and the gunshot went out, but it wasn't on our street. It was so dark, I'm gonna tell you, I was scared. I ran out between the trash cans and stuff because I didn't know who was shooting. But we need some lights on our end of Bellevue, because it's really dark down that way. And I think, oh, another thing about the code enforcement. I'm not calling out no names or no cars, they're not here, but whatever. We need the code enforcers to check on our street, because I remember back when we had old cars in our yard, and they come up in the yard and tag and tell us we got to get them out. I see some cars right now that needs to be removed. They really do.
Thank you for that, Ms. Johnson. And certainly, again, as we move forward and as we talk about leadership changes, the reasons perhaps that you would change leadership are being brought to our attention by our community, right? And that's important. As we move forward into this new day in Lamarck, we need to understand that perhaps we have been hearing this as a council for quite some time. Perhaps we've tried to implement policies and procedures that would meet you at the point of your need. And so now the next intervention is moving forward with new leadership, right? So it's starting to make sense. So all of the questions perhaps that are out in the community as it relates to what just happened, why did it happen, and who's responsible for it happening, perhaps those questions are better answered by the community. And that's what's happening tonight, is it not? You're answering the questions that your fellow constituents have been asking. Why? Who did it? What was that about? Well, Ms. Earl came up and shared some things, and Ms. Johnson came up and shared some things, and Mr. Loftus came up and shared some things, and the CPA has Citizens Police Academy. They've come here and they've shared some things, and perhaps we're starting to answer our own question. Why? Well, you answered that. We didn't have to. But now as we move forward, what we need to do, what I ask you to do, is to support Mr. Carey and the rest of the staff members, encourage them, empower them, and enlighten them as to those things that are important in your individual communities. He can't do it by himself. He doesn't know all the answers. So we're going to have to work with this city manager and with his staff. Show him where the issues are. Speak to him about those complaints and those concerns that you have, and then allow him to respond. Allow him to live up to the moment. Does that make sense? All right. Ms. Phillips.
What's the status of the spot shotter? That's one question. And then another thing that I saw is follow. Okay, I don't know how to do this now. Okay. Okay. Someone said follow the money. What do they mean by that? Because you say the past is the past, but in order to follow the money, you got to go to the past to come forward. So that sort of bothers me, because I feel the community has all these concerns, issues, and you know how I feel about the drainage, the ditches, the streets. So our money was just being misused?
Are you done? So, okay. Remind me
I could go ask you a bunch of questions.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to make sure I answered at the appropriate time. Remind me about ShotSpotter, because I'll take that one last.
Okay.
So I hear you say, Ms. Phillips, that perhaps there is some talk in the community about following the money, and somehow that's related to the events that transpired last week. Did I get it? Okay. So let me say this. I think we need to understand that what happened last week was normal, right? Every day in America, I'm willing to guess, city managers move on to different jobs. every day, I would assume. That's part of the business, whether it be, okay. No, you're fine. This is live TV, Miss Phillips. Ah, there it is. Up, it went. It really left us. It left us. I'm sorry. I'm going to answer your question, I promise. Hello? All right. Okay. All right. So what were we talking about, McDonald's or? Every day in America, city managers come and they go, right? That's normal, right? Whether it be a change in council, whether it be issues that are related to their job performance, that happens every day. And we know that. And so it happened here in Lamar. It may have taken some of us by surprise, but it did happen here in our city, not out of the ordinary. As Chase alluded to earlier, what is a bit unusual is that there were resignations that happened to coincide with the city manager's resignation, all of them at the same time. And that is unusual. I'll give you that. Let me say this. Anytime you have a change in leadership, a good government will allow their finance director to go through to make sure that there aren't any improprieties that happen, regardless of whether or not we suspect that they are. I have not heard anybody suspecting anything that was inappropriate being done. Let me say that in front of all of you. But whether we suspect that has happened or not, a good city will allow their finance director to go through every line item to make sure that everything that transpired during the tenure of the previous administration, to make sure that those things are accurate and consistent with the laws that govern us, whether they be federal laws, state laws, or whatever policies and procedures we may have as a municipality. That will happen. In fact, that is happening as we speak. And so when we say follow the money, I have no idea what we're suggesting when we say that as it relates to what happened on last week. What we do know is that there are folks that have chosen to move on, and tonight is not about demonizing anybody, right? Mr. Jackson served us for 2 years, and we wish him well in his next endeavor, right? And I'm sure that it's going to bring him satisfaction and his family joy. But not only Mr. Jackson, Chief Jackson has been with us for 27 years, I believe, right? That's a long time. And we appreciate those years of service. I wish him well in his future endeavors. Ms. Charlene Warren has been with us, I believe, 25 years or so. And again, the same mantra. We wish her well. And the rest of those that moved on with Mr. Jackson, we wish all of them well. This is not about demonizing anybody. This is not to say that anybody has done something that was criminal. It's not to say any of those things. What this says is Lamarque is moving forward in her destiny. The future is bright in Lamarque. There are 2 subdivisions that are in the process of building right here. Yeah, I know you don't like one of them, but I have to tell the other people, right? We have 2 subdivisions that are building right here, right down the street from us. Do y'all know on the east side of Lamarque, there were last year 213 new homes built on places that there used to be old homes. They were demolished and those lots were cleared. 213. We're growing. We are growing. We are moving forward. Amazon You leave out here, you're going to run into Amazon. That's 550 jobs. This council is working feverishly to get a deal done on our not our dog track like it's ours, but on the dog track property that, I wish it was ours, right? Yeah. On the dog track property that sits in our city limits. And so this council is busy with our nose to the grind, trying to bring in housing, trying to bring in development, more jobs. This dog track deal has the potential to be huge for us, to bring thousands, did you hear me? Thousands of jobs, 500 at Amazon, thousands of jobs potentially on the dog track site, right? We're moving forward in this community. We're not looking back. Tonight is about answering questions, but make no mistake about it. Marque is moving in a positive direction. And let me say this to you all tonight about some of the things that are happening in our community. And I need to clarify this. The Amazon development was a development that was initially negotiated by Abundant Life and Pastor Walter Hallam. They engaged Amazon. Nobody from the city engaged Amazon. Are you hearing me? I'm saying a whole lot to you now. The potential development that is on the dog track property, a developer by the name of Reed King Associates, they came looking to the city. Nobody from the city government went out and made that deal happen. Y'all hear me? The developer came looking for Alex Getty and the former city manager. We were just sitting in our office. I said that for two reasons. I want to make us understand that Marque is prime for development, but I also want to make us understand that there is no one person that has brought development to our city. The fact that the I-45 expansion is coming southward, the fact that we have the largest amount of frontage on I-45, those are the factors that have brought development knocking on our door. There was not a magician, nor a superman, nor a super genius, nor any prodigy that brought development to us. The development was brought to us in the same way that it has been making its way down I-45. Also, let's talk a little bit about the grant funding process, right? How do you get grants? Well, the first thing that you have to do in order to get grants, pay attention, is the city council, myself, Ms. Yancey, Ms. McAuliffe, Mr. Compion, Mr. Carlson, we have to approve for grant applications to be initiated, number one. Number two, then our administration goes out and they find a grant writer. Not one person does that. They go out, and in the case of the $48.9 million, it was a company by the name of Grant Works, one of the largest in the country. Grant Works wrote the entire grant. Administration then gathers the information to put in the grant. That's their sole role. Once the grant is awarded, it comes back to who? The city council. The city council then votes to accept the grant. Does that make sense? And then the city council has to vote to name a grant administrator. A grant administrator, somebody who's responsible for administering the grants. If it's for sidewalks, somebody has to make sure that we're getting our sidewalks done, right? So the council has more investment, more duty and responsibility in our grant acquisition process than you may have been led to believe. I said that to say this. We don't have to worry about whether or not we're going to ever see another grant, because this council was here, councils before this council was here. There are all sorts of companies that we work with anyway to produce grants for you. Those processes haven't stopped. Those processes won't ever stop. Whether this council remains, whether Mr. Carey is the city manager, this is not tied to one or two individuals. This is something that we do in America every day. And we'll continue to do what we need to do for this community as we move forward. But I wanted to enlighten you because I want to educate you, because there's a lot of talk about, well, what about this and what about that and these grants and this and that and all of this business. Well, the truth is out now. We know how we got all of those blessings that we were able to get, and we understand that we can duplicate those processes every day of the week. Next question.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Good afternoon. Protocol has been established. My name is Jennifer Washington. I have been a citizen of Marque for 30 years. I have a couple of things. A lot of things has been already spoken about. The streets. Of course, the drainage. That's a big deal. The drains are all clogged up. But in being transparent, when you call City Hall and no one answers, or you leave a message and no one calls you back, that's an issue. To me, that means you don't give a penny about what we're calling about or whatever the issue is. And that has been a problem. I called last week, about 2 weeks ago, to ask about reservations for the park. Never heard anything back yet, but it is not the first time. So in being transparent, maybe that's an issue, and I know that's not, anything may not be major, but that's important to me, that when I call, that I get a return call, or even answer the phone. You're getting an answering machine, and no one calls us back. And then District A, just like everybody else, we need our drains cleaned out. We see the people riding around. And I have to say, they have been working on the corner, because for 30 years, we've never flooded until Harvey. And now we flood every time it rains. So that is a big issue, Maybe we could have a drain cleaning party with the city, and everybody come out and y'all show us how to clean them out, because it's not being done. So I think, that's a big thing. And when you call, just give us a response. Let us know. Hey, code enforcement, same thing. You call there, you complain about something. I had an issue where I knew it was in the ordinance. You know what they told me? It was about a truck that was parked in our neighborhood that shouldn't, because prior, they were giving him a ticket. The code enforcement asked me, did I measure the truck? That's what they told me. Did I measure the truck? So, those are the kind of things that we need to work on for, we want to be supportive. I think everybody here want to be supportive, but, y'all got to give us a little something back. So, me, I'm going to be calling you. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire, everybody. And even if you're not in District A, if I see you, I'm going to say something. Because I've been here for 30 years, and my last thing, and Mayor Bell, I told you this. Don't forget about us over there. What are we, the east side? Don't forget about us. Because before y'all had this side, it was us. That's where your money came from. It appears the focus is here. Don't forget about us. All right? Thank you.
Okay.
Can y'all hear me?
Can you hear Chase?
Can you hear me? So, yes, ma'am. So first of all, my priority is going to be speaking with whoever needs to speak to me. My door is open, and we will be sitting down and talking about any issues that you may have. Whenever it comes to drainage issues, I grew up in Dickinson, so trust me, my family homes have flooded many times. We've called the city. We've never would even call us back, literally. I'm going to be open and honest with you. My door would be open, and many of the people in the community know who I am. I've been out there in the community speaking with many people, many people. I might not have an answer to every single one of your questions, but I will be straight up with you and honest, and we will figure it out together. I can promise you that. Mrs. Phillips, I know you know who I am, and we will be talking soon as well. And, you know, I just want y'all to know, if you give me a couple weeks to get settled with police and fire, we will be having a conversation, no matter who you are.
Can I have a call order?
Yes, ma'am.
Have your call?
Yes, ma'am.
So the Ms. Washington, certainly I heard you. And again, I don't want to be repetitive, but I want us to understand this is about the changes in leadership. And I'm so glad that you all are here expressing yourselves, because you're answering your own question. There were obviously issues, right? We know that. I think all of us can agree that there are issues. And so when that happens, if you're listening to your community, as this council is, then you have to move forward. But here's the thing. I think that we move forward with a clear message to Mr. Carey and to the rest of those that work with him. Our city administration and our city staff will be customer service oriented. I believe that that's the way forward in this community. I believe this council can direct this staff to make sure that our number one priority is caring for our customer, caring for the citizen, whether it be drainage issues, whether it be issues that require the police, whether you're calling EMS, whether you're trying to get a permit, whether you're trying to throw a party for your daughter at Highland Bayou Park, whatever the case may be. I believe that we can position ourselves as a city that's customer service friendly, that will always ensure that we're listening to you, we're responding to you with a mantra that the customer, right, is always right. I believe we can get there. It'll take us some time. We'll have to train. We'll have to build that culture, right? But one of the things that I appreciate about Mr. Carey, and one of the things that's unique about him, is that he has a rapport, an established rapport with the citizens of this community, because y'all have seen him driving up and down the street, looking at your drainage and so on and so forth. But he also has a rapport with the rank and file members of our staff. And that's a unique position to be in. And every time that I've engaged him, it has been a pleasant experience, because his goal, as least as it was with me, was to make sure that he's serving our constituency through serving our council. And so if we continue along with that type of leadership, then the rest of those pieces will fall in place. Over the next weeks and months, you'll start to see that culture change. And when you engage City Hall or when you engage city staff, you'll start to see their posture change. And it will, I hope, it'll be a more pleasurable experience for you as well. And I hope that at the end of that, you all will feel that you are being listened to, that you're being responded to, and that you're being served. Not that everything goes your way, right? Not that we have the answer to every problem, but that you have a city government that's working for you. That starts today. Ms. Phillips, you asked about ShotSpotter. Two things. Well, one of the things I wanted to share with you is that is a goal of mine. I haven't spoken to the council about this, but the American Rescue Plan money, I believe that we have an opportunity to move forward with ShotSpotter. So that's still on my front burner. Again, my number one priority as your mayor is to keep you safe, right? That's my goal, is to make sure that we feel safe in our homes. So no, I didn't say that. I just hadn't really discussed it with them. I hadn't introduced it. We're going to have to go to the mic if we want to ask more questions.
Some people don't know what ShotSpotter is.
Okay. Okay. So thank you for that. ShotSpotter is a system that will allow us to detect gunfire. So it covers basically a geographical area. If someone discharges a weapon in that area, it will pick it up. It will send an immediate signal to the officers on the exact vicinity that gunfire had occurred, and it will allow them to respond in a more effective way, if you will. They'll know exactly where to go. You won't get gunshots and then somebody has to call and then the dispatch has to dispatch them out. Where is it? I don't know. I couldn't hear. I thought it was over there. And then, the person that's actually discharging the weapon is gone, right? So this is a tool that can be used to help get the information to the law enforcement community faster so that they can respond faster. Now, did I answer that question, guys?
Is it implemented or will it be implemented?
It has not even been purchased yet. This is something that we've been researching. So really quickly, I wanted to let you know that it is my goal, and I believe that I could say safely that council loosely agrees to put more resources in our public works department. So there are two positions, two assistant city manager positions that you heard Mr. Carey say will not be filled. It will be my proposal and all of our proposals if they agree. The rest of the council, if they agree with this, we don't know yet. We haven't said this in a meeting. But if they agree, it will be all of our proposals that we take those monies and we put those monies back into public works, get us a 4-person crew that would go around with the sole purpose of mowing your ditches and clearing your easements. Take the money out of City Hall, out of office space, nothing wrong with office space, and put it back in the streets where you can see your hard-earned tax dollars working for you. That's a proposal that we want to do. Next question.
Well, I'm just glad. My name is Ronald James. I stay at 2710 Patricia and Marque. Been here 40 years. I'm here because I'm excited about Marque City government. This is a new beginning. And I'm glad you painted such a rosy picture about how a future could look. But I'm also here to say that we need this government to be more about action, less about rhetoric. We need things done, have been needing things done. One of the things, and these are the two questions I have, we have a street sweeper in Marque, goes down the down the curved streets. With the exception of maybe 20 times since I've been here in Marque, that's how many times the street sweepers come down our street. So the residents, which we don't mind, we sweep up our own streets, we take care of the trash, trying to make certain so if there is a problem, heavy rain or whatever, nothing gets plugged up. And my second question is there a golden book for code enforcement that we, the public, don't know about? Because it appears that code enforcement must say, I don't know who they get their direction from, but it must be selected because they will go and take care of something and pass 5 or 6 violations as they're going to write this one place up. Thank you very much.
So the street sweeper, you know, the one gentleman that operates the slope mower and a couple other pieces of equipment. So, you know, anytime it does rain or we have a storm coming, we try to get the street sweeper out and hit the areas where we know we have drainage issues. I mean, when it comes to drainage, I'm gonna be honest with you, we do more than any other city. There's not many cities that take their back truck out and try to discharge all the rainwater in the storm drains underneath, or set up bypass pumps to get the water out of a certain neighborhood. Not many cities do that. When it comes to code enforcement, like I said earlier, we are going to sit down with Mayor Bell and we'll go over operations. I will speak with Mrs. Van Stavern and our staff to go over certain issues and operations. Right now, I'd like to introduce the new police chief and fire chief, the interim fire chief and interim police chief, Chad Wagner and David Merriman. Come on up, fellas. I know y'all want to speak. Lieutenant Wagner's been with the city for 23 years next year. He grew up off of Oaklawn Street, and you know, he's from Marque, and he cares about this community and this city. So, you know, and David Merriman, he's one of the most decorated firefighters in the state of Texas. He's also a TCOL certified officer. So these men, they truly care about what we're doing here, and I truly believe in them. Any questions y'all have, we can step aside and we can speak about the police or the fire, anything else that y'all have. I do appreciate everything that y'all done, and I'm here for you, literally. I'm here to work for you. Whatever y'all need, I'll be there for you. Thank you.
Doesn't matter.
I'll just ask if I could do. Okay. Okay. No. One question before everything else. I want to know: do you have an effective date that you're going to implement this? What you were just saying about getting everything going, but you didn't say by when. To you, yeah.
Me?
Yes.
Are you talking about ShotSpotter, or are you talking about?
About all the things that you said you were going to.
Oh, yeah, the budget. Well, yeah, we're gonna go in. I'm sorry, I'm with you now. Well, we go in budget workshop at the end of July. I believe it's the 26th, the 27th.
So when can we anticipate as a community that we're going to start seeing the changes? That's what I'm asking.
If we're talking about public works and we're talking about the
Yes.
budgetary items, if
Yes.
council passes this, right?
Yes.
All this has to happen in a formal meeting. October 1st will be the first day that we can move into these new changes in our budget.
Okay, so the community can see changes October 1st.
As it
moving
relates to
forward.
budgetary items, right?
Like-
customer service and things of that nature, that should happen immediately. That's
Okay.
something that Mr. Carey should begin working on immediately. How we
Okay.
respond to the public, whether we answer the phone at City Hall, whether we call people back, whether the code is, however the code is interpreted and enforced, all that should start to happen immediately.
So tomorrow I can see changes.
Well, I think realistically, Ms. Phillips, I'm not gonna let you run away from the microphone. Come on, Ms. Phillips. Realistically, he has to sit down with his staff,
Okay,
right? And then he has to direct them.
right,
And then sometimes he might have to train them,
all right.
right? So you should start seeing changes immediately, but you won't necessarily see significant changes until that culture begins to change, right?
Okay.
Until they learn what he expects from them.
Okay, so by October 1st, the community should be able to see the ball rolling.
I would say so. I would say so.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Laura?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, citizens. First off, I know I'm a broken record, but in this setting, probably a lot of people are living in the Highland area. As you know, we flooded really bad during Harvey. I was told that we did get money, whether it was from a grant or the GLOW. My question for y'all, and Chase, you too, is where's that money? Do we still have it? When will things start happening? All we've seen are surveys, and now with 45 all messed up, if we get a major hurricane, it's going to be bad. So that's one of my questions. And then the other question is, on the list of condemned buildings, is Lamarque still knocking down condemned buildings? Because that just harbors criminal activity, drug activity. It looks bad. If we're wanting new businesses to come in, they don't want to come in with empty storage and, things messed up.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. We still have those funds. The last that we checked, Den Ho is our contracting engineer with Attico Engineering. That was in the environmental phase, that basically the state is reviewing it. They're going to get back to us, and then that project can begin. So I can follow up with you. I'll definitely, tomorrow, I'll follow up on that, and I can get back with you exactly when that project will start. There were issues with our previous grant administrator that held up some things with this project, and I'll be honest with you. GrantWorks now has it and is moving forward with it. But yes, ma'am, that project needs to happen. I mean, every time it rains, we have the vac truck, and we're pumping water out of there, and we're doing our best to keep y'all from flooding. So
We really appreciate that.
yes, ma'am.
So if we can get a timeline,
Sure.
I can share that with my neighbors.
Yes, ma'am. Will do.
Good evening, everybody. I wasn't going to get up, but I heard a magic word, easement. I have been in my house for 30 years. For those 30 years, I've been trying to find out who owns the easement between Chestnut Street and Poplar Street off of 4th Avenue. The city, right now, if you go by there, it is so overgrown. When the city comes and they cut the ditches, they have broken the meter so many times. The original owner had 1 meter put in, but he owned 3 properties. So because of that and the way the property is divided now, our meter was, I'm on the end of Poplar, my meter was over on 4th Avenue. So we kept, having problems with the meter getting broken, that we paid $1,000 to have the water line brought around the corner to our property. Who owns the easement? It has never been cleaned out in 30 years, and it's horrible. There's kids that lived on one side of it, and I know there's snakes, everything up in there. I would just like to know, who do we contact? I've contacted the city, I've contacted the utility company. Nobody will claim ownership to it, and it is horrible, horrible, horrible.
We will follow up with you, and I'll get with Ms. Van Stavern, and we will be touching base with you about that issue. Again, I just want to reiterate, I'm a placeholder. The city asked me to step up in a time of need, and that's what I'm doing to help the city move forward. Whether I'm the city manager in 6 months or 30 days, I'm not sure. But I'll do my best while the time that I'm in that office to help you resolve your issues and get wherever we can to move forward together.
So basically, it sounds like Mr. Carey is going to get with Ms. Van Stavern. Is that what you said, Chase? Sounds like he's going to get with Ms. Van Stavern. Perhaps they might visit with you tonight to get the information. What I would say to you just as a citizen, not as your mayor, a lot of times if you get a survey of your property, you might be able to get some of those answers from a survey of your property. It has those easements, and perhaps those easements might be designated. So that would be, again, as a citizen, not saying anything about what we need to do to try to help you. But I found that to be helpful. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Antonelle Martin. I don't have a question. I think that from the group here, you've heard just about every major and minor to you, maybe major to us, complaint of the city. I just want to let every person that runs my city understand that you're being held accountable by all of us. All of you are being held accountable by all of us. Don't forget the downtown or old downtown area. Don't forget us. Don't leave us behind as the city is developed. Handle the priorities of the city, and you have the support. We understand that change takes time. We understand the culture. We understand it. We know that it's going to take a minute to get things done. We're going to offer you our patience. Do not tell us stories, as my mom used to say. Don't tell me a story. If you mean it, say it, do it. The same way that you're here, you might not be later. Remember it. We all live here. We all love it. We want to move forward together. The operative word being together. So thank you. Thank you for the meeting. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. And you have mine and my husband's support.
Mayor Bell, council members, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. David Michael Smith. My wife Roan and I have been here in the community for about 15 years, and I don't know a lot of you here, but I do know some of you, and some of you may recognize me as one of the hundreds of people that came out to protest the police murder of Joshua Feast over the last several months. I've been a student of politics and a political activist for more decades than I care to remember. But I have to tell you, despite all the verbiage tonight, and despite the good intentions offered and so forth, there's this elephant in the room, and that elephant in the room is the question, the unresolved and unanswered question about justice for Joshua Feast. It's good to know we have some more economic development coming. I'm optimistic about that too. I'm glad to hear the mayor and his staff basically say they're going to try to meet the different concerns that people have, whether it's drainage, or other kinds of problems like code enforcement. But I think when we ask, what does it mean to move the community in a more progressive, more positive, different direction, the answer is not limited to better drainage or better code enforcement. And it's not limited to making sure the police have supplies and equipment that they need. I think we have to talk about the fact that the same way we rightly fear and are concerned about street violence from young people and other people and so forth, we have to acknowledge in this country and in this community the reality of police violence, wrongful, unlawful killing. And I mean, to be honest, we haven't had a lot of transparency out of City Hall in recent months around that issue. I mean, one question that I have is, what, Mayor Bell and staff and other folks, are you doing about the murder of Joshua Feast? What about the firing of Jose Santos? Isn't it time to let him go? Isn't it time for the district attorney to bring a case before the grand jury? If the system does not meet the needs of the people, and if the system kills folks when they don't have to be killed, you can expect families, neighbors, loved ones, and even old white guys like me to be pretty upset about it and to continue to do something about it. We won't be moving as a community in a positive direction until we address questions like this. So once again, if you don't mind me remaining here, let me just ask, what are you doing about the murder of Joshua Feast?
Well, Mr. Smith, I thank you for your question. And certainly, I think it's safe to say, as we move forward, I think it's safe to say that the heart of this council goes out to the family of Joshua Feast, to those that mourn Joshua's loss. Certainly that day was a bad day for all of us, not only for the family of Joshua Feast, but that day was a bad day for our law enforcement community, as well as our community as a whole. Very, very bad day. Never wanted that to happen, nor do we ever want that to happen in our community again. Now, what am I doing? I am allowing, as the rest of council, we're allowing an investigation to be completed. There is not a whole lot that we can do until we get a result from the DA's office. We can't do anything about Joshua Feast or anything that relates to Joshua Feast until we get a result from the DA. It's my understanding they did.
And isn't it true the
I
DA's had the
I was not
case?
told that as mayor. I'm hearing that through the street like everybody else.
You need to do something to further this along. It's been 7 months, am I right? 7 months? You know, this is old hat. Around the country, often what happens is that local authorities, DAs and others, sometimes law enforcement themselves, will basically slow walk. You know, if it were one of you that committed a murder, shot somebody in the back, you'd be in the slam by now. That's not the case for cops, at least not often enough, and it's time to do something. So, I mean, frankly, you could use your good offices as mayor, and the council could use their basically power of the pulpit, if nothing else, to basically say to the community, we won't stand for murders like this. Joshua Feast needs justice. The DA needs to get off its butt and basically bring that case to the grand jury. You know, otherwise, we can have some more protests in Lamarck, and I'll be glad to participate again. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mrs. Smith. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kelly Nessage. I'm here with my husband. We've been here for about 1.5 years now. We love the community. We love the neighbors. We live on the west side over off of Pertheus Drive, and we have had repeated incidences, especially during high rainfalls, when the sewer will back up to the point that it overflows out the manhole. And because of our location, it runs out the runoff pipe that feeds right into Highland Bayou. And there are times where the sewage is so bad, it is a black slick floating down the bayou, which is a huge health concern. This last episode actually blew the clean out caps off of 2 of our neighbors' homes, and you could see the fallout from the spew for over 24 hours over the 4th of July weekend. What we have noticed is it's difficult to get in touch with the right person. Oftentimes we have to call the police department, and then they have to notify somebody, and we will tell them repeatedly, it's not our house, it's the pump station, which is like a mile from us. And inevitably they sent a truck to the house and say, we're here to auger your house. And we're like, our house is fine. Look at the manhole, and the manhole will be bubbling. And he's like, never mind, we're going to go to the pump house. There seems to be an inefficiency in communicating with the department that this is happening, and this amount of raw sewage is flowing into this beautiful resource. You know, we have Highland Park down the way, Manham Park. We want our families to be able to enjoy them, and I don't know that I would let my kids go swimming in there after that. So I was just wondering if anything had been addressed with the pump house over there by Highland Park or Mayhem Park.
What was your last name again, ma'am?
Nessage.
Remember the video that I sent you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's the family. How you doing?
So I do know the headworks at the wastewater treatment plant. We replaced the headworks, and we replaced 6th Street lift station. And the grant funding that we were speaking about tonight, the $48 million and then the $7.5 million, that is going to go into the rest of the infrastructure, the sewer infrastructure. Basically, yeah, when you have to call dispatch and then they have to call people out, yeah, I know that's not efficient, and we'll work on that to have a better, policy and procedure. If those pumps weren't operating correctly at that time, then yes, that's on us. And I'll look into that, and I'll speak with the certain people that I need to. Those pumps should operate, and over the past 6 months, 8 months since we've had those new pumps, it has helped. Because I speak with many people over there, and I've been over there, and I know exactly what you're speaking of.
Yeah, we definitely have seen a decline. It used to happen almost every time it rained, and it hasn't happened in probably 6 or 7 months now.
Yes, ma'am.
But this to have the clean out
Right, to
caps
blow.
that are screwed on,
Yeah, that's not
blow
good.
out. It was like, I'm a little thankful. I hate to say that it happened because I'm like one of the last houses on that run. Had it not, that could
Yes,
have been in
ma'am.
my house.
Yes, ma'am.
Um,
I'll look into it, and
Thank
I'll
you.
get back with you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Yolanda Reyna. I live behind the neighborhood of the National Guard office, where Ms. Levine was running for city council. So I know a lot about what's being spoken here. It makes me glad to hear that there's concerned citizens like me about a lot of issues that have been discussed. And kudos to all these people that have stood up and said all that. I just want to add a few things. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I don't think I've ever broken the law. If I did, I would tell you. Because why? Because I'm also a law-abiding citizen of Christ our Lord. And I believe, like he stated, render to Caesar what is Caesar and what is to God, God. I render my taxes all the time. And listening here to everything that's going on, 2001 is when I moved into the home that I own right now. I've been paying faithfully my taxes, never have been arrears with them or anything. In between that time, and I'm sorry I can't remember the year, but some of you will, there was an issue that happened also with the government of the city. And I'm paying my taxes to Texas City now. I don't want to have to do that. And I see the schools going down, and I see them torn down and empty lots. And it breaks my heart. Amazon is coming. That's great. I know that's going to bring a lot of jobs here and everything. But I am concerned what's happening, and I honestly have not been keeping up with a lot of these things, but seeing this concerns me now. Are we going to repeat something? And Mayor Bell, with all respect, I hear you. Yes, you're going to do some audits, financial, whatever it is. I would really like to see that soon, like we're saying. I had an entrance interview at American National 39 years ago. I retired 4 years ago. I also had an exit interview. And I stated my words there as well. And that's an open thing we have. And we have been open here at this town hall. I love it. I'd like to see another one. Give us a time where we can see what you are finding out. Not when you find out, but where you're investigating. I'd like to see that, Mayor. Thank you.
Ms. Reyna, thank you for that. I appreciate your comments. Ms. Reyna? Yes. I appreciate your comments. One of the things that we have done since I became mayor is I've been out in the community more times than most people can remember from previous mayors. I've done listening sessions, I've done town halls, I've been to neighborhood watch meetings, and I'll continue. I'll continue to be the most active mayor that you can remember. That's part of who I want to be for you. So we're not done with these town hall meetings. We're trying to schedule before next Monday. We're trying to schedule a great chicken debate, so that we can debate chickens. If we're trying. If schedule permits, we'll do that. If not, then we'll do it after next council meeting. But you brought up something that I'd like to share. You alluded to the failure of the Marque Independent School District, and that's big on our minds. That's present, and it causes us to be fearful. And I totally get that. I totally get where you're going with that, and sometimes it may seem like the municipality might be going along those same lines. But let me tell you the true reason for the demise of LMISD. It was not fiscal irresponsibility. It was not. It was not ineffective curriculum, nor was it ineffective instruction. Do you know what the true reason was for the LMISD demise? It wasn't even zoning. It was a community that became disengaged. That's what it was. When the community moves away from the governments that are elected and appointed to serve you, there will always be a demise of those governments every time, every time. And that's what really happened to the Marque Independent School District. It wasn't one person or one move or one decision or one budget. It was the people became apathetic and they became disengaged. So the reason why we are nowhere near that type of decline in the municipality is because our people are engaged. Our people are here on a Tuesday night understanding or trying to understand what just happened on a Friday afternoon. And we'll continue to be engaged. I'll continue to come to you. This council will continue to come to you. And you'll continue to come to us. And we'll continue to talk. And we'll continue to figure it out. And sometimes we'll get it wrong. And sometimes we'll stumble. And other times we'll be frustrated with one another. But we won't stop being engaged with one another. That's what's going to be the difference between the city of Lamarck and perhaps the Lamarck Independent School District. Our community will continue to band together. We'll move forward together. We'll do things together. We'll listen to you. We'll take what you've said to us, and we'll do the best to incorporate those things into your daily lives. That will never stop, not long as I'm mayor. It will never stop. I will always be here with you. And I promise you that, Ms. Rayner. I promise you that. Always, always, always. The community, the council that I serve with, will always be connected. And so long as we're connected, you're going to keep holding our feet to the fire, and you're going to keep demanding better. Even if we're at 99%, you're going to demand that 1%. And you should. Because this is your government, not ours. We're not kings or lords or queens. We have two female members of our council. We're not kings or queens. We're servants. And we're here to do what you've asked us to do. And it will always be that way with me, and I can say safely with the members that I serve with, it will always be that way with them. Make sense? Next question.
Yes, sir. My name is Richard Holcomb, and I'd like to thank you for having this town hall meeting, because I think that's what's that's what develops community. Get everything out in the open, and this is what I think every community needs, is to be transparent, and I think that's what you're doing, and I appreciate you for that. But I guess I got more or less of a statement than a question. And my statement is, well, I read the newspapers every day, and I've lived in Lamarck for this time the last 10 years. And I read the newspapers, and for the last 3 or 4 years, they talked about how much Mr. Jackson did for the development of, and they never said that he got the grants for Amazon or he got the grants for, whatever. But it was always throughout every couple of months, there'd be an ad in there from City of Lamarck, and it would say, Mr. Jackson did this and got this and that. And I guess my statement is I've worked since I was 12 years old. And I've always worked in not just 12, but in the plant. I've always worked since 1981 in the plants. And I've seen a lot of people fired, and I've seen a lot of people quit. But the only times I ever seen when a person was fired and his whole crew quit when he was walking out the gate and walked out that gate with him is because he had been wrongfully fired. And my question is, you lost a 25-year veteran, Lamarck, and a 27-year veteran. And people that have got that many years with a job to quit their job, something must have been wrongfully done, is how I see it. That's just from the outside looking in. Thank you.
I totally respect that, sir. I respect where you're going with that. I respect the history that you brought forward for us to consider. And here's the thing. So there has been an effort in our community to put positive stories out for our community, right? We want to know that we're doing well. Every city wants to know that they're doing well. Every city has an element of it that's tasked with, if you will, promoting the good side and the good stories of Lamarque. Of their city. Lamarque's no different, right? Anytime we get good news, we want to make sure that that good news is posted anywhere and everywhere we possibly can. Now, tonight, we've heard different stories, have we not? Tonight, we've heard stories about people not being responded to. We've heard stories about drainage not being repaired. We've heard stories about people being neglected. We've heard stories about streets being neglected. We've heard stories about people being overlooked, and perhaps, I don't know this, I'm not suggesting this one way or the other, there needs to be work done in our code enforcement department. We've heard other stories, right? And so that's important to know when you're dealing with moving on from a particular employee. There's definitely some good things, but then there are also some other things as well. Now let me ask you this. How many of you go to work? How many of you work right now or have ever worked in your life? So here's my question. If the customers that you serve, or if the boss that supervised you, if this was your report or the evaluation that you had on your job, would you still be there? You wouldn't be there, right? And so we have to understand that. We have to understand, I can't talk to you about it specifically because Mr. Jackson asked us to put a non-disparaging agreement in his separation agreement. So we won't talk negatively about Mr. Jackson, and I won't even begin to even want to, right? But there were obviously some issues. I didn't have to get up here and tell you that. You all got up here and told me that, right? So there were obviously issues as it relates to Mr. Jackson's tenure here as city manager. Now, here's the other interesting piece to what you said. So usually when somebody leaves and then people follow, it seems like that person was wrongfully terminated, right? I get that. One of the interesting things that you need to be aware of in the separation agreement is a clause that says that we are to, as a city, we are to allow any of Mr. Jackson's direct personnel that he supervises directly, if they want to resign, we are to allow them to resign, waive their 2 weeks notice, give them all their vacation time, give them all their sick time, and allow them to leave in good standing. That was in Mr. Jackson's separation agreement. Have you ever asked yourself, well, you don't know, but I've read it, and I've asked myself over and over again, why would, a couple days before this thing even happened, why would somebody want that in their separation agreement? Why would they want that there? So now my mind goes to a whole bunch of other different things, right? So sometimes when you look at things at face value, you might arrive at a conclusion that perhaps people were wrongfully terminated, but there may be other parts of the story that you don't know, right? There may be other things that are happening around you that you don't know. Here's the thing. I just said to you earlier that in this entire equation, out of everybody that walked off, we supervised 1.5 people. We supervised the city manager, and we supervised the city attorney who resigned, who was also our developmental services director. That's an interesting story, right? Because that young lady was doing 2 jobs, 2 full-time jobs in one position. The council started to see that perhaps those jobs might need to be split. If those jobs are split, then that income goes down, right? So at some point, I'm sure that she had to do what was best for her family. So there are a lot of factors involved in what we're talking about that have not come to light. Again, I'm not going to say anything bad about what Mr. Jackson did or did not do. I'm sharing with you what was in his separation agreement, and that should make you think about all of the surrounding elements as it relates to those resignations. Next question. Yes, sir. Next question.
I just have one question. We spend a lot of time doing park tours, going from district to district, visiting all of the parks, getting feedback from the community. I like to know what our timeline, what our next steps are in going forward with the parks master plan.
No, I think that'll be, that was something that Mr. Jackson implemented, with council. So I think mayor, council, and I will be discussing that here in the near future. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I believe we're about done with our questions, but we'll be floating around here somewhere. You have one, Ginger? Okay. Let me finish with that while Ginger, come on, Ginger. Let me finish with the other question. I assume sooner rather than later that master parks plan is going to come before council with recommendations, and then council will have to act on it. We'll have to either adopt it or amend it based on what the council chooses to do. And at that point, we'll move forward with the opportunity to finance, right? There's a lot of work that needs to be done in our parks, and so we have to figure out how to finance all of that work. Ms. Ginger, go ahead.
So I have worked with Chase on other things, and he's been great at it. I mean, and I applaud you for stepping up into this position. Are there plans to have him permanently the city manager, or will you be posting an announcement saying that the city's hiring a city manager? How's that gonna take place?
On next Monday, the council is going to consider a way forward. There will be some sort of a search. I can't tell you what that will look like because the council hadn't acted on it. It could look like us hiring a search firm, right, to go out and help us search. It could look like council deciding to open up the position for people to apply and council review. It can look like various different things, Ms. Ginger, but there will be some sort of a search to find a city manager. If Mr. Carey chooses to be a part of that, if he wants the job permanently, he will have to do what every other applicant would have to do. Submit your resume, your application, have those reviewed, interviews ensue after that. We narrow it down, I would assume, in some way, make a choice that we're considering, and then allow that person, and this is just me talking, there are 4 other people that can overrule me immediately, but perhaps allow that person to visit with the community to see if there's synergy, right? But to answer your question, yes, there will be a search. Monday, we will consider what that looks like.
Okay. And then as far as all the other department heads that you've put into place for now, the ones that you've put into place for now, is that the same thing going to happen with them, or will they just automatically become those positions? Which I don't have a problem with any of them. I mean, I think they all do a great job. I just want to know who or what or when the city is going to do about those positions.
Yes, ma'am. So those positions are actually supervised by the interim city manager. I would expect that you're not done. You have to speak to that, because I can't speak to that because now I'm in charter violation territory. So we'll let him speak to what he's going to do with his staff.
No, Ms. Ginger, first of all, city council, mayor and city council will find them a city manager first. Then they will go out for a search for a police chief, a fire chief, every other vacancy. You know, I wouldn't want to fill those positions because I don't know if I will be this person in 30 days, 2 months. I mean, I could be 15 years, who knows? But first of all, they need to put that person in place so then he can fill out his staff. And if they want to apply, chiefs, then yes, they'll apply.
So
Yes,
it would
ma'am.
work the same with them as it would for the city manager. They throw their hat in the ring if they want to keep that.
Yes, ma'am.
Except,
Okay.
except Chase decides.
Whoever's in my
whoever the
position
city
will.
manager would decide that. We won't.
Right.
Okay, let's see. Sorry, some of my questions have already been answered. The extra money from the 2 assistant city managers, why isn't there some kind of sign-on bonus for police officers, already qualified, ready to go on the streets police officers? Because I know in our last city council meeting, or I don't know, it was one of the meetings, it's been so many, the police staff is short, and we need police officers. Why not, I mean, Landry's is offering a sign-on bonus to be a server. Why wouldn't the city offer a sign-on bonus for a qualified, already ready to go out in the streets and work police officer instead of getting someone that's not qualified, that has to go through the academy and go through all of the hurdles to become an officer on the street?
Great question. I believe at the next city council meeting, you'll see us try to solve that problem. And that's one of the tools that we may be able to use. The police department is a collective bargaining unit. They have a union. And so we have to first make sure that those things are legal according to our collective bargaining agreement. But that's one of the problems that we're going to attempt to solve at the next council meeting. And sign-on bonus is one of those things that I think that we're gonna add to the table if it's legal.
Okay. Sorry, I gotta read my notes. So the 49 million and the 3.8 million from the CARES Act, has the city already received that money?
No.
Okay. Okay, well then that kind of answers my question.
And GrantWorks, a national company, is the grant administrator for the $48.9 million. That means that they're responsible for making sure those monies are coming in and dispersing those monies out to the appropriate companies, making sure that work is being done appropriately, right? That money never, ever, ever goes, the only thing council sees from that money is the finished product, right? We are so far away from that process that it's solely on GrantWorks to make sure it's done. They work with the city administration to get it done. We see the final results of it. We approve basically what has been done, so long as Susie is okaying it. Susie's our finance director, and the city manager is okaying it.
Okay. This is kind of a touchy thing. So the meeting last Thursday was a special meeting for evaluation, termination, or reinstatement of the current city manager. Yes, he resigned. Someone would rather have a resignation than a termination on their record, of course. Was he evaluated?
He was not evaluated.
Okay. Why not?
Because he had already started negotiations to resign.
Okay.
The entire separation agreement was at his request. Everything in that agreement was because Mr. Jackson wanted it there.
Okay.
Everything in that agreement.
And to touch on what you said earlier about the clause about people wanting to resign that were under him. So I would think that the clause was put in there by him so that he wouldn't have to, so that his employees wouldn't have to go through the scrutiny that he went through. And like the other gentleman said, you know, you've got people with 20, 25 years of qualifications, service, and to just up and leave, it's just, I don't know.
Again, let me interject there. Again, those are folks that were not supervised by the city council. So there was no scrutiny for them to go under. They weren't supervised by us. The only person in, well, again, 1.5, Dear Parnell, a city attorney, 2 full-time jobs, 1 salary. and Mr. Jackson. Those were the only folks that were supervised by us. So there was no impending scrutiny coming from council because we can't scrutinize them. We can speak about their department activities, but we can't evaluate them personally. We can't hire them. We can't fire them. We can't do any of those things, Ms. Ginger. That's a charter violation.
Okay. And so the buildings that the city purchased from Abundant Life, what's happening with that? The buildings, the property, all of that stuff over there, what's going to happen with that?
2 of those buildings are being used. One building is being used primarily for a public works office. The other building was designed to be a community room. I believe that it's now a meeting room, and Chase has some other plans for that building he can share with you when I'm done. The largest building, I believe it's Building A. That building is in a state of significant disrepair. It's going to cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars to get that building up to speed in a way that will serve this community. And so that's where we sit. I have personally been in contact with, and I'm trying to engage a larger investor in and around this community to see if they would be willing to sponsor the rehab of that building so that we can turn it into a youth center. Pray for that. Keep our fingers crossed. Don't know if that's going to happen. I'm not trying to overpromise anything to you. I'm just simply telling you, we're trying to find a solution to that A building.
Okay, and lastly, there's been talk that certain council members want to make the fire department a volunteer fire department. My opinion, that won't work in the city of Lamarque. Also, with the new equipment that the fire trucks have been given, wouldn't that not allow them to become a volunteer fire department?
Sure. Are you done?
No, yeah, I'm done.
Okay. I don't know. I have not heard any council member say that they want to move or return our fire department back to a volunteer fire department. I have not heard that. I can tell you that that's not something that I'm interested in. I'm only one vote. I can't speak for the rest of the council. They're here to visit with you tonight if you want to ask them directly. But I have no plans to interject that into the discussion in any way, shape, or form. I am a former firefighter, paid firefighter, union member, Local 571. So I don't even see, I wouldn't even know how to begin to start to digest that, to take paid firefighters and take them out of their ability to serve our community and replace them with volunteers whose hearts are in the right place, and many of them are great, but they just don't have the time to commit to the fire suppression that we would need for our city.
I agree, we don't need a volunteer fire department. And then lastly, so I'm sure you've seen all of the wonderful comments on Facebook about everything. And you know, everybody talks about having the community be a unity, be a whole, when really it's just a big division. Everybody is dividing this person from this person. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion and should not be chastised for voicing their opinion and voicing their concerns or comments. It's gotten very, very, very disrespectful on the Facebook pages. And I know that's not, you know, your fault or you're controlling, but the people here, y'all need to work together. And some of you are sitting in this audience that I'm speaking about. And it's just not, it's not right. Everybody wants to work together, then don't demean other people.
Sure.
So that's all
Sure.
I got.
I feel you. I feel you on that, Ms. Ginger. I do. I do. We are a community, as we wrap up tonight, we are a community of one, right? Again, if drainage is insufficient in one neighborhood, we're so small of a community, it will affect the other neighborhood in some way, shape, or form, even if it means taking resources from your neighborhood to expend them in another neighborhood. And so there's no place in our community. There are some things on Facebook that have happened that are disheartening. One of the things that I campaigned on was this idea that we move forward together. And there has been a lot of division on Facebook. And I'm disappointed because this community has an opportunity to move forward, to realize all of the things that you all have articulated tonight. But we can't do that if we're not together. It doesn't matter, like Ms. Ginger said, what opinion you have as it relates to this issue or any of the other issues in our community. The only way to move forward is together. Doesn't matter if you are a proponent or an opponent of whatever issues we have of the day. The only way we move forward is together. And I'm not going to allow, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to allow people who've decided to be divisive to tear our town apart. We've been there before. Marque has been there. And we are where we are today because we've allowed people to tear our town apart yesterday. And I'm done with that. And I hope that all of us are done with that. I hope that all of us could band together, and when we see people dividing our town or deriding our town or insulting our town or trying to cause confusion in our town, that we would stand up and we would say, I don't know about you, but I love Marque. Right? Do we? That's the question. Do we really love Marque? Yes or no? Do we love Marque? Marque is not perfect, but your spouse isn't either. All right, guys. I'm done. I'm done. I'll leave that alone. But listen, I have enjoyed you tonight, and you've given us, this council, a lot to think about. Let me ask you to give this council a round of applause, just briefly. They are a hard-working bunch, and they didn't have to be here tonight, but they all committed to be here tonight because they're interested in the things that you're interested in. So, moving forward tonight, we're going to close this town hall meeting. Again, we had to cut it off. I'll talk to you as soon as we get done. We have to stop here, and we'll be back. This isn't the last time that we'll engage you in this way. Allow us to gather ourselves a bit. Allow Mr. Carey to get settled into this next phase of his task to serve us, and we'll come back with some results. Make sense? Again, I'm going to be around for a few minutes. Perhaps the rest of the council is here. I see Casey there, Ms. Yancey's there, Joe's in the back, Mr. Carlson's in the back as well. Please, before you leave, engage your council. Doesn't matter if you live in our district or not. Engage your council and let them know what you think. And again, until we meet again, thank you all for coming.